everyone, welcome back to another video on the channel. We're back on GT Sport and we're back with a daily race driving at Monza in the Ford Mustang. So this was my first race of the day. Qualifying lap was at this point was a 1 minute 46.7 I think it was. Managed to get that down to a 46.5 and got myself into the top 10 stars by the end of the night, but I couldn't race because I was uploading a video and I didn't want to have a connection issue at all. So just did a bit of time trialing just to get into a 46.5, and then this was my first race of the day earlier on in the day. You can see there the start was a bit frustrating at this track, I find, because you find that P2 just gains on you massively. I wish they would go for an iRacing way of doing the starts. I think it would be more fun, more entertaining, and just a lot better for the lead driver also. As you can see there, going in turn 1, I went in a bit deep, went to go turn left once I'd gone in deep, and there was no rotation on the car. What you're going to see now is what happened. So you can see there, got absolutely overtaken by so many cars there after that. So I was down to like P13, 14, so a disappointing start. But as you have a look now, you're going to see P3 gets hit by P2 and then just turns in. And like, not much I could do. I was still on the track limits, and as I went to turn in, there was just no rotation where he'd hit the side of my car. So unfortunately, not really P3 fault. I went in a bit deep. However, you had to do that at Monza because the amount of people that would dive bombing into that corner and wiping people out is the safest way to do it, really. But unfortunately, he just did it. He just turned in. Maybe he should have lifted a bit before he turned in, which is probably the more sensible thing to do when you're on lap 1 at Monza. But I don't think there was much sensible driving going on. As you can see there, utter mayhem on the chicane. I just went into that corner really easy, gave the car in front of me space because I was going to go for a move and decided against that. I thought I'll just hold back and try and stay behind and just see what happens with all the cars that were ahead battling away, and it looked a bit messy. So I just held back and stayed away from all that, and managed to gain quite a few positions. You can see there I'm up to P8 now, and I'm going to start doing fuel saving. You can see I'm doing a lot of short shifting because I need to save the fuel. I'm going to run on board for the whole race on this because I want to show everyone what I was doing to try and get myself back into the fight for the podium position. As you can see, a lot of penalties. I've got penalties, the car in front's got penalties. This is Monza on GT Sport. It's basically a penalty race that everyone just gets penalties. They need to really look at the penalty system, but not much you can do about it. And this is one reason why I'm going to show you in this race why you should never give up. You can see I'm running 2 fuel mixture. I'm just trying to do a lot of fuel saving. The Ford Mustang isn't the best car at saving fuel. It doesn't really save that much, so I had to just try and do a bit while I could, because there's no point me using all my fuel up at this point, getting in a slipstream, battling away, getting more penalties. I want to take my overtaking opportunities when they come and do it safely. As you can see there, had a little look on the inside, decided against that, so use the fuel mixture 6, put it into fuel mixture 2 just to get a bit of traction coming out of these corners, because I didn't want to use all my tyre life up, and I'll explain why when we get through to the pit stop phase. You'll see why. So going into 1 mixture, but again doing the short shifting, this car actually accelerates reasonably well if you change gear about 2/3 of the way, just after halfway. It accelerates really well. As you can see, I'm going to go down the inside. I could see that there was a move on, braked a little bit later. I pretty much knew I'd be able to brake later than that guy because of my race pace was a lot better, and got the move done fairly cleanly there. And the guy behind me also took advantage from that move and got himself another position gained also. So you have a little look now. What I did was I just tucked in behind the slipstream, had a little look down the right just to try and make it go to the right, and then went back to the left, and again braked a little bit later, took the car on the inside, took the curve nicely, and got myself into another position gained, and that was a fairly clean move. And then we got 2 cars battling away up in front again, so using that fuel mixture 2 because I don't want to be getting involved with this really close at this point. I just want to wait till I'm on the straights, do all the overtaking in safe places. There's no point trying to overtake people in corners at Monza. If you line your corners up better on the exits, you normally can find you get better exit speed. So you can see there, decided not to go down the inside this time. You see I just used fuel mixture 6, saved some fuel, let him just go aggressive on the defensive, and then going through the corner, not being too aggressive, put fuel mixture 2 on, and then 1 as I come out the exit. You can see they're trying to get a nice smooth exit, and again I've got a cleaner exit than the guy in front, so I'm going to go down the left hand side and make that move there. I don't think he knew I was there, I can't really tell. He seemed to be moving over, but he gave me plenty of space once he knew I was there. And then going around the outside, brake a little bit later, and I've got the inside line. I give a little bit of space on the apex just in case he did throw it in. You can see there on the top right hand corner, you can see the gap I gave just in case he did throw it up that inside. And now I'm into P5, and a long way behind the leader, so there was no real point me worrying about trying to win this race. So there was no point me going all out and trying to overtake people, you know, at every opportunity. The best plan was to save the fuel, use lower mixtures, save the tyres, and just try and pick people off as and when I get chances. You can see there now we've got P4 in front of myself, and I've got to try and find a way to get past this driver now. And again, I'm going to try and do it as cleanly as possible without making any sort of rash moves. So again, just sticking in his slipstream at this stage, using fuel mixture 2, saving that fuel, still short shifting even in fuel mixture 2 because I've got his slipstream. I've got a Mercedes behind me that hasn't got the power that I have down the street, and still we're going through with purple sectors. You can see there was no point me going for the top driver. He was a reasonably fast driver. He'd done a 1 minute 47.8. It wasn't as fast as what I was doing in my next race. In my next race, I actually got away. I still got hit on the first chicane. Got myself a 2-second penalty because someone rear-ended me, but I managed to get out the corner cleanly and then just drove flat out. 100% clean race, no one in the way, and every single last lap was a 47. It went 47.7, 6, 4, and then I think I did a 47.3 as my fastest lap. As you can see there, lined the move up, faked the move down the right, and then on the inside went for a nice clean move, you can see there, and given plenty of space, and another move done into P3. So I've got myself into a podium position already, and we're not at the pit stop phase, so this was really good. Although we got a massive gap to P4, you can see I faked the move down the right, made him go defensive, and then tucked in on the inside, braked pretty much identical spot, but I've got the inside line, not much you can do when you're on the outside there. I'd much rather be on the inside. And then you can see he got himself on the curb. It did look like he got hit from Mercedes, but he didn't. I went back and checked the replay. He just got on the inside curb, put the power down, and lost the rear end. So up to P3 now, but you can see they're 7.5 seconds behind P2. So the only way, this is why I was saving the tyres, because I know the tyre wear on this track isn't too bad. So the plan was, when I get to the pit stop phase, I'm not going to put any tyres on. All I was going to do was just put some fuel in, probably go a little bit more than what the diamond says, because I've been doing a lot of fuel saving, but I'll still be putting less in than the top two guys in this race. But I didn't think I'd be able to get too close to them, because 7.5 seconds is a long time to make up. You can see I'm still doing the fuel saving going down the back of the straight. Once I'm getting close to the top speed of the car, using that fuel mixture 6 just to save burning away the fuel when it doesn't really gain you that much time in using one. You're only going to gain about 3-4 miles per hour, so not a massive amount of difference. So just trying to maintain the fuel and pull away from P4. I wanted to get rid of the gap to P4 because I have got the penalty to take, 3.4 seconds, and again you can see they're using that fuel mixture 6 at the end of the straight. It's really good to try and use it at the end of the straights, and if you need to do fuel saving, especially when you're doing short shifting as well, because when you're hitting the close to the top speed, if you're using one mixture, you're only going to gain 2-3 miles per hour more. You might as well just go into fuel mixture 6 for that few seconds, 2-3 seconds, and save a little bit extra fuel. It does make a difference, and it doesn't lose you a massive amount of time. As you can see there now, I'm still around 7.5 seconds to P2. Obviously I'm still doing some fuel conserving at this time, because I want to get, when it comes to the pit stop phase, I want to have a bit more fuel to try and gain in on that P2. Although I didn't really expect to be able to get too close to him in the pits, but obviously I don't have to change tyres, but it all depends on the fuel that he's saved. He doesn't seem to be driving, his lap times aren't amazing, so my guess is that I thought at this point that he was doing a lot of fuel saving. P1 is too far ahead, you can see I'm 11 seconds behind, so I'm not really concerned with P1. I'm not going to be changing the tyres when I go to the pit stop phase, so there's no way I'm really going to be able to gain that amount of time on P1. He was in my second race and I managed to win that fairly comfortable. I think he might have been the driver that hit me into turn 1, I'm not too sure, but his lap times were nowhere near in the race as well. Like, my race pace was really good in the next race. I was hitting consistent 47s and low 47s as well. Probably one of my best race pace races I've done for a long time. The last time I was at this track, it was definitely a lot faster than then, so definitely picking up the pace in terms of race pace at this track. But obviously for this race, the lap times are not great because I'm trying to conserve the tyre life. I'm trying to eke out the fuel just so that when I get to the pit stop phase I can get as close to P2 as possible. It was going to be a battle though, because if he puts fresh tyres on, I've got worn tyres. You can see even at this stage, going through on a purple sector with the fuel saving that I'm doing, I'm still at this lap I was using one mixture all the way because I wanted to close in a bit, but I wasn't revving the car out. You can see I'm changing gear around that 2/3 mark, again to save the fuel. It doesn't lose you too much in terms of lap time, but it saves the fuel. As you can see there, going through the two layers modes, and look at the difference I've made by just on this P2 in terms of just using that one mixture instead of changing it a bit and going a little bit more aggressive. I've managed to gain 7 tenths on P2 and pulled away a further 7 tenths from P4, so it's really worked this last lap, going a bit more aggressive, and the tyres are in reasonably good shape. You can see on that left hand side the tyres are not really wearing that bad. Obviously they've took some life out of them, and it is going to get worse as we get through to the final few laps, but I felt confident at this stage. That was the plan through the early phase, not to try and, obviously I got hit into turn 1 and straight away I went into just trying to get some sort of result because I didn't want to lose a big chunk of the driver rating. This is the worst time I could be losing it, and this is a track that took 26,000 DR off me at one point, and I finally got it close to 70,000 again, and hopefully be on 75,000 soon. As you can see there, P2 had 9% fuel left, I've got 21%, so I've got 12% more fuel, plus I'm not changing the tyres, so I didn't really know how close it would be, so I put a little bit more fuel in just so I can, maybe get a bit more power down the streets. And just look how much time I've managed to gain on P2. I've actually got within his slipstream, and also the Mercedes behind me has also not changed his tyres. He's decided to do the exact same strategy as myself. I'm not too sure whether he may have put a little less fuel in than myself though, because he was about 3 seconds behind me going in the pits, and he had saved about 5-6% less fuel than myself, and he comes out about 2.8 seconds I think he was when he came out of the pit, so he must have underfueled a bit as well. But luckily I'm just in that slipstream about 8 tenths behind P2, so at this stage, even though I had a penalty and the P2 didn't have a penalty, I wanted to try and get past P2 on the track, and if he beats me at the end because of my penalty, I wasn't really bothered. I just wanted to race this guy to the end, because it shows you that you should never give up on these races. A lot of people I've seen, will quit. I've probably quit a couple of times when I've had a disaster start and you've been about 30-40 seconds behind. But when you're only like 10-15 seconds behind and you're in the mid-pack around 10th position, 12th position, you really do need to just, keep your head, stay calm, go straight away into a different plan of action. Don't try and be aggressive and overtaking people, pushing people out of the way. Just take your overtakes when they come. As you can see there, P2 makes an error and I go down the left and he actually starts squeezing me and hits me on the side there. I don't know if it was because he didn't know I was there, but it gives me a little tap. But I'm up to P2 now, and going into the final corner I have to be very careful on the braking. The front tyres are starting to lose a bit of grip now, so I'm starting to have to brake a little bit earlier, hold the inside line, get on the power very gently, because them rear tyres are starting to fade and I do not want to slide the car out that final corner. And now going down the straight, you can see that I'm staying to the right hand side in case he decides to go down that right hand side. It's a bit late to try it, but he does try it even that close to the pit exit. I was quite surprised that when I did it in the Lamborghini race, I did it much further up the road, but he did it and then he just turned in. I was going to give him space anyway, but then he goes in too deep. I get much better, and then his car just disappeared. I didn't know what was going on at this point. I was really confused because he hasn't got a penalty and his car was just randomly disappearing. So I thought he might be having connection issues at this point. So I was thinking this is a bit dangerous, because when I've seen what happens when people have connection issues, they can wipe people out of the races. You can see again his car disappears. I don't know whether it's because he's turning in on me or what, and then his car disappeared again there. So I tried to go through that corner really aggressively and picked up another penalty, and now I had no idea where he was because I couldn't see. I looked behind, he's not there. I thought he might have gone off the track. No idea where he was, but if you look on the top right hand corner, you can see he's clearly in front of me, just about. He's ghosting in my car. But there I realised he was there because my car started a weird force feedback feeling through that as well. It was pushing me over to the left as if he was controlling my car slightly. It was so strange, but that's where he was. It was because the ghost car somehow was pushing my car. I really hope they fix this issue, because I thought he had disconnected at that point, but clearly he hadn't. It was just his car was ghosting whenever it got near mine, and whether it was because he wasn't giving me the space on that right hand side, the game sensed that he was pushing me over and it ghosted him. I have no idea, but fortunately I didn't pick up any of extra penalties, only the one on the curb where I didn't have a clue where he was, which is a bit frustrating because I didn't know what to do. I just got on the power to try and get out the corner because I didn't have a clue what had happened with him. And I've seen people where they just suddenly walk forward and wipe someone out of the race. So if you would have watched the Brands Hatch race, you would have seen that in the FIA race I did, where it happened to them. But now still in the slipstream, so 2 laps to go, and I really wanted to make this move. You can see I went to go down the right, he went defensive and then goes back into the middle of the track, which he's 100% entitled to do. You know, he's made his defensive move, then he's getting back over to the racing line, so no issues there. I wasn't getting annoyed at it. It's racing, and it's just got to find a way past him fairly and try and get it done as soon as possible. Obviously this wasn't going to be easy. I've got tyres that are really old now at this stage of the race. I'm starting to get a lot of understeer when going into the corners as well, so I'm having to start braking very early just to try and give myself smooth exits from the corners. You can see again, you know, even though my race pace is much better than the driver in front of me, I can't really use it because of the tyres, so it's a real hard battle. He's obviously got the fresh tyres on and is able to get out the corners much easier. I'm having a little look there, just trying to put him under some pressure. He doesn't really hit the apex of that corner quite so well, but look how much earlier he's able to get on the power because of the fresher tyres. You can visually see now where the tyre life is starting to kick in on them, the left hand side tyres, especially the rear left. It's taking some wear, so I'm having to be really cautious around the right hand corners when I put the power down. You can see there again, going into this corner, he doesn't get the perfect line. He goes a little bit wide and then breaks onto the dust. But then again, look at the exit speed difference. I'm just trying at this point hold on to the slipstream and then make a final challenge on the last lap. That was the aim. There wasn't really much I could do in terms of getting closer onto this corner, so just use his slipstream. I've got plenty of fuel. I've still got 1.4 laps of fuel, and you see again there, I braked early, but still the lack of grip off the front end, especially because I was in the slipstream and had the extra speed going into the corner, the car just couldn't cope with what I wanted to do to it. So a frustrating corner where it loses me a bit of time again, but still just within the slipstream. So you can see him trying to lose that slipstream using all the width on the left hand side. Going into the braking, I decided to brake very early for this corner. You can see myself brake really early to make sure that I get a nice clean exit from this corner, because I wanted to be able to get on the power nice and early. And you can see I've managed to gain quite a bit there, putting the power down really well, and actually got really good traction from the car considering these tyres are quite old now, and actually gained a bit of time on P2. And I really wanted to get past P2, you know, considering where I was after that first lap incident and how far back I was. I really wanted to beat him on the track, even if I've got the penalty. You know, see, going through a purple sector, even with the tyres in the condition they are, you know, shows you the race pace that I had, but I just couldn't use it, obviously, with the tyres and the strategy I was running. And then really putting him under pressure at this point. You can see visually that he's feeling the pressure. You can see him making little mistakes. His car looks very on edge, like he's really worried about getting overtaken. You can see I'm just trying to keep it clean at this stage. I wanted to line and move up for this straight now coming up before the final corner to see if I could get past him before the finishing line, although I was going to brake because I don't like going over the finishing line with penalties anymore, because it really does harm your safety rating. As you can see there, on a fastest lap of the race so far, which is just shows you that, you know, how worn these tyres are and how smoothly I'm having to drive. And he makes a mistake there where he's trying to push too hard. I again tried to keep it nice and clean. He's got a penalty also at this stage, so there's a chance I might be able to get past him and get, you know, stop before the finishing line. I go down the left hand side, I brake in a straight line and very you know, early, and try and undercut him. You can see there, then tuck in underneath him. He can't block me. I've got the car underneath him and on the power a lot earlier than him also. I'm actually past him at this point, but I'm going to take the penalty, try and take the penalty before the line and try and get rid of it, but unfortunately I didn't get rid of it all. But let's have a little look at that move. You know, at least I got the overtake done before the finishing line, really. He made an error there. And what he does then, he goes to the right hand side to try and defend that right hand side. So what I'm doing is just getting in the slipstream, and this is why I just concentrate on getting a clean exit, just in case anything like this happened. In the slipstream, I go down the left hand side, brake in a straight line, and then tuck under once I know that I can go on the inside, and then get on the power a little bit earlier and really feeding that power and really gently at this point, because I know them tyres are starting to really cry out. They're really suffering. And then I actually passed him, you can see there, but I had to brake before the finishing line. And he had a penalty, but he obviously didn't have as much of a penalty. And I go over it, and I ended up within about 6 tenths of him before the line. It was actually very close, actually, looking at that. Just a tenth in it, but that's because of the penalty. You know, if I would have, annoyingly, if I would have braked about a second earlier, I would have probably got rid of all that penalty and probably come P2. But I tried to push it as close as I could, and P3, but considering how far back I was, it was a good recovery drive, and I'm really happy with P3 in that race. And it was some good strategy. You know, it was a good to show everyone, you know, different moves that you can make in terms of picking up places, saving the fuel and saving the tyre life. Anyway, I hope you all enjoyed that. Make sure you subscribe to the channel if you haven't already subscribed. Click that notification button so you don't miss any future videos. I do upload every single day. And don't forget to click that thumbs up button for this video if you have enjoyed it. Show your support. I do love seeing, when everyone's giving this support with the thumbs up. It shows you're enjoying the videos. And leave any comments that you want to leave in the comment section. I will reply to as many. I do try and reply to as many as I can. Obviously, I can't reply to every single message, but I do try and reply to as much as I can. And hopefully the strategy calls in that race will help some of you out if you find yourself in a similar position. It really is important to not give up in these races. I know it can become very frustrating with the penalty system and the way some people drive, and stuff that happens in these races does really get you down sometimes. But if you just stick to a plan, you can always make something work and get yourself back up if you just think clever in these races. A lot of people will not be that on it in terms of race strategy. So if you just come up with a plan, you can find yourself getting back in them top 3-5 positions, and you won't lose much driver rating. I only lost about, I think it was 40 points or something from my drive rating in that race, even finishing P3. It shows you how frustrating it is for myself at the moment, that I come P3 and still lose drive rating. But fortunately, in the next race I won fairly comfortably and got all that back, so there was nothing really lost. Anyway guys, hope you enjoyed that. We'll be back very soon.